I'm looking forward to providing as much information to you guys as possible. I would like to briefly introduce my panelists, and then they're going to talk about who they are and what to do in more detail. But I have Roy Morgan here. He is the president of Command Partners. This guy's been around crowdfunding longer than I have, longer than most people have. I think you started in the Kickstarter space. You do a lot in the equity space now. Extremely knowledgeable. We have Bill Huston here. He's from Our Crowd Rocks, also a very successful crowdfunding marketing agency. Jason Fishman, digital niche agency. He's the SVP over there. Also a great guy, good friend of mine. And then we wanted to give you the perspective, and maybe he can also explain some of the pain points of actually running a campaign. Eric here runs Box. He's the CEO of Box. They are, it's a really cool electrical scooter. You can check it out on the expo floor, actually. They are raising money on Start Engine right now.
Hello, my name is Bill Huston, and I'm the founder of Our Crowd Rocks, and we're a crowdfunding marketing and company. And what we do is we work mostly with Kickstarter and Indiegogo companies, and what we do is we build a crowd. We focus on building the crowd for the campaigns. One of the things that I think that's missing from crowdfunding is the crowd. People don't think about the crowd, they only think about the money and how they can use the money once they get the money. But what we talk about is the value of the crowd, the benefits that the crowd can bring to you, and why it's so vital to focus on building the crowd. And now we're moving into the equity space, so I'm really excited about that and glad to be here on this panel.
Cool. Awesome. Well, welcome all of you guys. It's a pleasure to have you, and let's just dive right into it. You mentioned the crowds before and how you have to have a crowd in crowdfunding. So talk to me like I have no idea, which I don't anyway, but you know, explain to me, what is this with a crowd? I mean, like if I'm sitting here and I'm listening to us and I want to raise money, then I'm looking for investors. And is that the same thing? Do I attract them the same way, like for, say, a Kickstarter campaign? This is a question for all of you guys, and anytime, you know, feel free to interject. But what's the difference? What does it mean you need a crowd, and how do you build one?
So for me, when we talk about the crowd, we're talking about people participating in the event, in investing in your company. People are going to give you feedback. There are so many benefits to building a crowd besides the money and the funding that you look at. When you build this crowd, you are building relationships with people who are going to be brand advocates for you. They're going to buy your product. They're going to tell people about your product. And it's important that you build a relationship with those people. It's impossible, or pretty much impossible, to go out and just ask somebody on the street for some money. And if you think about, you know, what you're going to do with a crowdfunding campaign, if you do not build your crowd, you are simply asking some stranger for money. But if you take that stranger, you take the time to build a relationship with them, turn them into a friend, and then you're asking a friend for money. And it's a whole different ballgame. And also these people, the people, investors, product users, they're going to know what it is that they want, what they want to purchase, so they can give you feedback. There are lots of benefits that you can receive from the crowd. And that's why for me it's so important. It's vital to build that crowd. And I think sometimes that's been lost on us in the industry. Not necessarily the people on the other side of the table, but us in the industry, is that we have to build this crowd. And when we build this crowd, what we're doing is we're building relationships, and these people are going to be there through it all. So when we move to the next phase, when we move to our next crowdfunding campaign, they're still going to be there, and they're going to be our friends, and we don't have to go out to look for new clients and customers.
Hi, good afternoon. Joseph Landesman with Lloyd Jones Capital. We're a real estate private equity firm. We are launching our senior housing fund, and we're entertaining crowdfunding and looking into the marketing there. So I know, Bill, you mentioned that you're receiving feedback. So I was wondering if the panel, and specifically Bill, can answer these. What product and service is not necessarily appropriate for crowdfunding? Or have you ever entertained where one asset class or one group may not be the best one? And Bill specifically, what type of feedback have you received? And when you said the crowd gave you feedback, when it's your product, your service, and now they're providing you feedback, you said, and what type of feedback are you looking to receive when you said you were looking for it?
So you're looking, you're looking to receive feedback on the product, on what it is that you're putting out there. Because when we talk about the crowd, we're not just talking about investors. We're talking about people who believe in you. We're talking about people who are supporting you, who want to see you be successful. So these people are going to be willing to communicate with you. When we talk about marketing and social media, we have to remember that when we're talking about social media, you're talking about this one-to-many relationship, but it's also a many-to-one relationship. So you want to create engagement. You want to talk to people. Long before you start asking people for money, you want to get people's feedback. You want to get, what is it that people are looking for really? Maybe there's a tweak that just needs to happen to your product, and they can help you with that prior to you asking them for money. So it's about a conversation. It's about engaging people and exciting people. If you don't do that initially as you build your email list, as you build that email list, you need to nurture these people. You need to have these, dialogues with people. Let them know, this is what it is that I'm trying to do. Can you help me get there? It's not all about saying, okay, listen, I have this product and it's the best product in the world and I need you to provide some money for me. It's not about that. It's about engaging and exciting people. I tell people all the time, there's one fundamental rule in crowdfunding. It doesn't matter what type of crowdfunding it is. If you do not build an excited and engaged crowd, you are not going to get the funding that you're looking for. So what is it that you're looking for? What is it that you need help with? Why are people not engaging with you? And when they do engage with you, what is it that they tell you? Listen to people and engage with them. So that's the kind of feedback that I'm talking about. Whatever the product is and whatever kind of product you need, feedback you need to maybe make it better. That's what I'm talking about. And that's the value of the crowd, seeing beyond the funding and being able to see this crowd as part of your business and your organization, and them seeing themselves as part of what it is that you're doing. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. And what type of product services may not be the best one for crowdfunding, or you found that anything and all can work on a crowdfunding?
Right, because it's this conversation just like we're having right now. And those are the kind of conversations that you have to have with people, because these people believe in you and they're investing in you just as much as they're investing in whatever the product is. Probably, if you're talking about the Title III, a lot of these people are probably not only going to be investors, they're going to be people who buy your product. So they're going to be brand advocates, and they're going to tell everybody that they know about this product. So those are the kind of conversations that you want to have. These investors / clients, there's a different relationship when you build a crowd as opposed to just asking or looking for investors. I wanted to say, when you talk about building email lists and landing pages, and of course using Facebook ads, one of the things that I like to do is I like to drive people to the landing page using the Facebook ads and then try to convert them with some type of information or some type of trade so that I can get that email address. So that's where we begin when we talk about that funnel. Another thing that hasn't been mentioned that I really like is Twitter. Twitter is a great place for me, where you can really go out and you can find potential people who are going to be interested in the campaign later down the funnel, because you can engage with people one-to-one. I think Twitter is a great place to engage with people. It's a great place to listen. If you use your hashtags properly, you can find your audience and you can narrow that down. And all of this is free of charge. Of course, you have to put your time in, but you don't have to buy the ads. I think that's a great place to really put a lot of time in is in Twitter, because what you can also find on Twitter is you'll find that a lot of bloggers and a lot of journalists are there. And the value with these bloggers and journalists is they've already built these one-to-many relationships, and they're trust-based, right? So if a blogger or journalist says something, then that may drive some traffic. So I think that, that I hadn't heard Twitter mentioned, and I think Twitter's a very powerful platform as well.
Joseph, we have a whole lot of hands going up with questions.
Questions, please.
All right, here you go. What's your name?